The 7 stages of empire. America entering the final stage. Every country that loses grip with reality, loses their morality, and unhinges from sound money goes through the same 7 stages of empire. Hey guys, Brandon here. We have a video today on the stages of an empire. Life always goes through these cycles, these circles, all the time, over and over and over again, because we are cyclical, circular people at the end of the day. Nature's laws. Number one, sound money, gold and silver in the Constitution. This was in the founding documents we have as a country in America, and every empire has gone through this. Whether it was the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, British Empire, always starts with good, sound money backed by something of actual value. Money is not currency, money is not paper dollars. Those are just currency, fiat currency backed by nothing, just government decree or fiat. So you need actual energy money or commodity money, something of actual value, and that's what's traded. And then paper was just a claim check on that thing of actual value. So most things start with that, or all empires start with that, and then they go to number two, which is layers of public works. So think of the New Deal, Great Society, the war on drugs, the war on poverty, going to the moon, NASA, all these different public works that we're doing to, try to advance society, quote unquote. A lot of them are, they have good intentions, and a lot of them are there to, if you ask Lyndon Johnson, there to really disrupt populations and enslave populations. So we're not going to get into that today, but that is very important to know that these are those cycles and how they always go through the same exact things over and over again. Number three is build up the military industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about in his farewell address. So building up a military, I got to protect these assets. I have to protect my sound money. I have to protect these public works and my people inside them. Number four is put the military to use. So now that we have this great military and we're making all these buddies and the revolving door of politics into these governments, these entities that are supplying the war machine, now we got to put it to use. Because what better way to transfer wealth? War is one of the best ways and easiest ways for governments to transfer wealth, a la the wars we see going on right now, the endless war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and now we're right back into another one, proxy wars in Ukraine. So that we got to put them to use. Think endless wars. Like I said, Korea, Vietnam. These are 20-year wars, all of these. The Cold War, decades. Iraq and Afghanistan, and now Ukraine. So now we're going to put Ukraine in there, actually, because this is going to be another one that is prolonged. Another emergency, more the WHO's going to come out with different things that, it's just emergency after emergency to wipe out the middle class. The transfer of wealth from the haves to the have-nots, and it's going to continue. They're going to keep creating currency, or keep creating crises that create currency crisis, but they're going to keep creating these crises to just continue transferring wealth. And the end goal of communism, socialism, fascism, Marxism, all of these, Leninism, is to destroy the middle class and not have private property. Look, we already posted, we've done videos, we've done blogs on the Communist Manifesto, Mein Kampf, all these different things. They do not want you to have or own anything. You will own nothing and be happy. Look at the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab. This is the goal. This is their stated goal. It has been that for decades, for centuries. This is what they want, and they have to destroy the West. They have to destroy America. And we go through these 7 stages, and this is why this is so important, to understand and put ourselves in front running this and making sure we're not in part of this system and help others around us. So we go through those wars, and then number 5 is debase the currency. We have to debase the currency because that's how you're going to pay for said wars. You can't, if you're on a system that has a limit, a cap on it, or it's finite, like Bitcoin or like gold, there's finite nature to it. You can't just have endless wars. It means you have to live within your means. You cannot do ridiculous things. So think of the creation of the Fed, 1913. We had the income tax was instituted as an amendment that year. I mean, this is not a coincidence. We had to have the income tax to pay for the Fed and them transferring the wealth from all of us to the elites. And the Nixon shock in 1971. So we had 1933 was Act 60, Executive Order 6102, FDR taking us off gold and repatriating, stealing it from the citizens, basically. So if you had it in a bank or anything like that, he stole it, said it was illegal to own gold. Anyone who didn't give their gold back, well, they stand to benefit because it was revalued overnight from $20 to $35. So, I think there's a few cents in there I'm missing, but basically $20 to $35. So you almost doubled your wealth if you held on to your gold. That's why this is important to understand. So 1913, 1933, 1944 was Bretton Woods and going on the dollar gold standard, and then in 1971, Nixon shock. Nixon took us off the gold standard, and then it was just a dollar standard. And now, as Zoltan Polzar and many have said, and Max Kaiser, Stacey Herbert have astutely pointed out, the end of Bretton Woods 2 happened, the Nixon shock, in February of 2022. We're now in Bretton Woods 3, which is energy money, commodity money. So it's oil, it's Bitcoin, it's energy being transferred for actual, wheat, commodities, actual things of value. And we're back to what we really should be. So that's coming. Just most people have not seen it yet. A lot of these things are lagging, and they will catch up over time here. So that leads us to these debasing of currency and transferring of wealth. And again, we've showed the charts of the dollar losing 98. And you look at any chart, 95 to 99% of its value over the last 100 years. So that's incredible loss of property from the people to the elites. So that loss of faith here, like we say, number 6, the loss of faith in the currency, the dollar losing 99% of purchasing power. And other countries won't accept or buy U.S. treasuries like we've just seen. China said they're not buying our treasuries. Russia, they have now said, no, we can't. You took us right out of the system. You froze our assets. So who would want to buy a treasury bond or hold the dollar when we could just freeze anyone on the system? Think the truckers, or think freedom protesters, or think other nuclear powers. If you can just be rooted out of the system or frozen, why would I hold that asset? It makes zero sense unless you're paying your day-to-day costs, right? So holding just enough so you can pay your month to month, maybe a month or two of emergency, and just a month or two of wealth that you can pay your day-to-day bills. But other than that, it's time to own assets, like we'll talk about here at the end. Number 7 is currency crisis. You finally transition, where we're entering the 7th phase, the transition from the fiat standard to SDR, special drawing rights, or energy or commodity money backed by real things of value. Governments will try to go the SDR, the special drawing rights, which they've planned for 50 years now, or the central bank digital currency route, which is true enslavement. We'll have some videos and blogs on that going forward, which is probably one of the biggest threats to mankind, is the central bank digital currency and the panopticon, the digital slavery prison you will be in if we go down that road, and that's all you're banking on. But if you want true freedom, you must go the energy commodity route via Bitcoin or gold and silver. So digital and analog. You have to have some of that to be out of the system, or some cash on hand, a little bit of cash, but hold your wealth in Bitcoin and gold and silver, and you will, over time, if you zoom out and see these charts, you gain in purchasing power and hedge your purchasing power, and you're out of the system. They cannot track you. That is so important. That's what will create these parallel systems that will eventually collapse on themselves. The elites will collapse the system on themselves. They have to, mathematically, for reasons we've talked about in the past, and we'll continue to talk about in the future. So those that pay attention, this can be your roadmap to the future. These 7 steps: sound money, layers of public works, build up the military, put military to use, debase the currency, the loss of faith, and then currency crisis, and transition to a new system. And gold always has accounted for all the currency that's been printed, actually. And just to give you a perspective, if we accounted for all the currency that's been printed, and this has happened multiple times in the past in America, Mike Maloney puts it at about $60,000 to $100,000 gold per ounce, $60,000 to $100,000 per ounce gold, to account for all the currency that's been printed. And it might be more now, because this video is from a few years ago, actually. So just think about that, $100,000 gold plus, to account what it's already done in the past. This has already happened in the past many times, accounting for all the currency that's been printed and outstanding credit. I believe in having a portion of your cash, maybe 10 to 30%, especially in the time frame we're in right now, just to be nimble and pick up assets that are on sale. But remember, inflation is that tax you're paying, 10 to 20% in inflation each year, true inflation, to hold cash. Otherwise, you must be buying assets that will hedge or increase in purchasing power to contrast the depreciating fiat paper dollar. So remember, like Winston Churchill says, the longer you look back into the past, the further you can see forward into the future. We've all heard people talk about the fourth turning, and that history doesn't always repeat, but it rhymes along with cliche after cliche. However, we know human beings and nature are cyclical. The earth circles around the sun, the moon circles around the earth. Nature has a tendency to ebb and flow, and nature's laws are perfect. So too are the cycles of life. They are not so they not so ironically coincide with one life cycle of a human being, meaning that each generation tends to need to learn its own lessons. However, if we use wealth cycles, which we've spoken about before, coined by Mike Maloney, where we can take the good, learn from others' mistakes in the past, then we can exponentially increase our trajectory and the upside while limiting the downside. Though this only happens if we move away from three things plaguing humanity the most currently, in my opinion, which is intellectual laziness, apathy, and lack of confidence in oneself, truly. Socialism and communism and fascism are all kissing cousins of each other. They aim to destroy one's will and meaning to live. They suck the life force out of you so that the state can control you and pull you around by the nose, leading you wherever they want you to go. Like the Matrix, in pods, sucking energy from your lifeless body. I, for one, don't subscribe to that BS. I believe God has put us here as his highest form of creation to do amazing things. That is the challenge. It's to see through the clutter and the negativity and to be a better version of yourself every single day, striving to make yourself better and in turn making the world a better place. Jessica and I try to best teach the children, or Jessica and I try our best to teach the children that we want to leave places better than we found them. This applies to all of life, I believe. Use the cycles to your advantage. We're in or entering the seventh and final stage. Your pension, your 401k, the goons on Wall Street, your political leaders, your boss, your company, or the group you volunteer for are not going to save you. No one cares about your wealth and well-being like you do. Stay strong. If you appreciate this and like this content, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Here we have our blog as well, where you can read these. Go to our Substack, which is linked in here as well. Please share it with somebody, tag somebody, or share it with somebody you think that would enjoy them, or maybe needs to hear it, or might hate me for it, or would just really get a kick out of it and laugh about it. So I appreciate you, your time, your energy. It's the most important asset we have. Truly, talking about assets, time. So I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one.